Hello, thanks for joining me. This is Revelation for September. Today is Thursday, September 15th, and we will look at the 15th chapter in the book of the Revelation to John. Up to this point, we have had a lot of crazy and weird stuff, seven-headed dragons and the like, bowls of wrath poured out, plagues, third of the earth being crushed and demolished. And we are not done. So there will be a spoiler alert in this chapter 15, because chapter 15 is kind of quick, like taking off a Band-Aid. So chapter 15, another portent. Remember that word portent meant a bad sign in the future, a symbol of bad things to come. That's a portent. And so this portent is 7 angels and 7 plagues. So it's kind of like a vague thing. And they're always mentioned that way, even though I feel like the 7 angels have, like they did with the trumpets, they have these plagues to pour out on the world. And that is what happens, because then if you read in 16, that's what's going on. So hate to spoil it for you, but it kind of, you need to explain it. So the portent is these 7 angels, and they have white robes, and they have these gold across their chest. I don't know if it's this way, like a seatbelt, or it's some other way. Anyway, they have this thing across their chest, and when their thing is ended, when their plagues are all poured out on the people, God's wrath has ended. So this is good news, right? But it's not really happened yet. It's sort of almost, and it doesn't say this way, but it sort of almost seems like when this occurs, it's a portent. It's what's going to happen in the future. It's a sign. God's wrath will be completed. It'll be over with. So they see this sea of glass with fire. So there's a lot of these juxtaposing images, like Jesus with that sickle where he like chops people. So, you have glass, a sea of glass and fire, like a calm ocean and fire. And water and fire, they don't really go together, but this is just a celestial representation, and this is in his vision. And the celebration of the singers in that moment when God's wrath is satisfied mentions both Moses and the Lamb. So we're talking Moses and Jesus. Now, taking you back to John's community, he's very concerned that the children of Israel are, if you want to be Christian, you follow Jesus, you got to be a Jew first. You have to convert to Judaism, and I don't know if he's not happy with the converts, because it seems like people are not following cultic practices of Judaism well enough to satisfy someone like John. And he's calling out, when he called out to the churches in the very beginning of the book of Revelation, he mentioned how they're being unfaithful to the covenant and to practicing being good Jews to be good Christians. So this is a very important thing to him. And, somebody like Paul would say, eat what you want. Doesn't matter if it's sacrificed to idols. We don't believe in them. They're not real. So who cares? But this is not for John. He does not want you to go down that path, because he thinks it leads to the worst things. And maybe it does. So they celebrate that they have conquered the beast. And if you're reading 15, you're like, oh, is it over? And the rest of it's just gravy? Because 22 chapters, well, 7 chapters left. So, or maybe 6. I don't know how to count. You count the one they're in right now? Anyway, maybe this is the good thing. We're happy. So 16 is the one that, even when I read the commentaries, it always referenced chapter 16. So that's not this chapter. That's next week, tomorrow. So that, we haven't done it yet, but this is what's maybe going to happen when that is conquered the beast. And then in John's vision, the heavenly tabernacle. Tabernacles are important because they represent the temple. And then when there is no temple, you can build a temporary structure to hold the presence of God in a physical place, which is very important to the Jews. So the heavenly tabernacle is not the one on earth, but the one in heaven. And from that heavenly tabernacle, the angels have these bowls. And bowls are akin to cups in this time. People would drink liquids, libations, says the commentary, out of these bowls. So they each of the angels has a bowl. The 7 angels with the plagues has a bowl, and that's all we get. But in 16, they pour the bowls out, and it's the plague. Okay, it's coming. It's not here. And then so they have these bowls, and God is represented in this tabernacle. No one can go in. It's filled with smoke, which is the presence of God. And this would be totally something that the people reading this would understand. God appeared as a pillar of smoke to the Israelites who were in the wilderness to try to lead them. And then fire by night, but a pillar of smoke by day. Remember that? So this is referencing back. We've already mentioned Moses in this chapter. This is referencing back to the Exodus. Coming out of this. So it almost seems like chapter 15 is like, oh, there's light at the end of the tunnel. The good things are going to happen. Remember, we are sitting there with the portent in front of us of these 7 angels. So remember the 7 trumpets? Not such good stuff happened. The 7 bowls of God's wrath being poured out on people. Yeah. That's going to be some hard days too. So be positive, because this is a more positive chapter, but it's a short one. Like I said, it's just a kind of a blip getting us ready for what's going to happen in 16. And I think we're 2/3 of the way through the tribulation, where if people, they're marking the time with the 3.5 years. So we're 7 years in, 6.5, like 6. Yeah, 3.5, 7 years in, and the tribulation will last 9.5 years. So we're 2/3 in, and I think the last bit of it is going to be these 7 bowls, because we had the 7 trumpets, and then they were the 3 woes. These are the woes. This is the last woe, I guess. I don't know how to exactly connect them, because it's not blatant in the story, but it's not a story, blatant in the apocalyptic literature. But it seems like we're heading towards the end of the end. And maybe this message is a message of hope and triumph for the people who have their name written in the book of life and have the mark of God, a seal of God upon them. So hopefully those who are praising Moses and the Lamb will have conquered the beast once God's wrath is finished being poured out on humanity and the world. But have a nice day anyway. God bless you.